Lauren Wilson moved through her morning with practiced precision, the rhythm of her quiet life etched into every motion: cracking eggs, brewing coffee, buttering toast, all while the early sun streamed through the windows of her family's modest home in Oak Hill, Pennsylvania. At 36, she had mastered the art of efficiency, not out of passion, but out of necessity. Her days were dictated by duty, to her parents, to her job at Johnson Accounting, and to the quiet expectations of a small town where the seasons changed more than people did. Her father, Thomas, shuffled downstairs with his paper, asking for coffee without a glance or a thank you, as if her care was a service he was owed. Her mother, Catherine, made her entrance like she was gliding into a magazine cover shoot. Flawless makeup, expensive perfume, and an even more polished indifference toward her eldest daughter. The family's conversations revolved around one person: Olivia. Beautiful, charming Olivia, the youngest daughter who had snagged Nathan Carter, heir to Oak Hill's most powerful real estate empire. Catherine glowed when she mentioned Olivia, practically melting into her coffee cup as she cooed about the upcoming dinner with Nathan's parents. Lauren offered a quiet, "That's lovely," while setting plates, the taste of bitterness hidden behind her polite smile. No one asked about Ryan, Lauren's kind, steady boyfriend who worked at the town library, because in her family's eyes, a man without wealth or status might as well be invisible. As they ate, talk of wedding dresses and venue grandeur drowned out Lauren's voice. When her father asked what was for dinner, as if she hadn't already told him, she calmly answered, "Chicken casserole," then quietly resumed clearing the table. The unspoken contract of her life, unmarried, childless, and still living at home, meant she bore the weight of every chore. What was once a temporary arrangement after college had morphed into an unpaid, thankless lifetime post. She noticed the Morgan couple walking by their house, fingers interlaced like they were still 20. A pang of yearning tugged at her chest. Not for extravagance, but for something simple: choice, freedom, love without condition. Her family had boxed her in so subtly, so thoroughly, that she hadn't even noticed the walls closing in. But all it would take was one spark, one moment, to set fire to everything they had taken for granted. And Lauren, the dutiful daughter with the quiet smile, was done waiting for permission to live. Lauren watched the golden leaves swirl outside as she prepared breakfast, her hands moving with the grace of repetition. The peace of the morning was a temporary veil, quickly torn by her mother's voice. "Lauren, are the preparations for Olivia's birthday party this weekend all right?" Catherine asked, her tone as usual more command than question. "I'm counting on you for the cake and decorations." Lauren smiled gently, as she always did. "Don't worry, everything's already arranged." That was Lauren's role: organizer, fixer, the one who made everyone else's life easier without being noticed. As her mother nodded, satisfied, Lauren glanced at the clock, grabbed her bag, and left the house with only a fleeting wave from her parents. No thank you, no acknowledgement, just the unspoken expectation that she would continue doing it all. In her car, she exhaled slowly. Her life was built around the needs of others, a steady current of sacrifice she told herself was love. But sometimes she wondered if love should feel so invisible. Olivia's 30th birthday was held at Le Chateau, the most extravagant restaurant in Oak Hill. Lauren had handled every detail: the reservation, the flower arrangements, the customized cake, the elegant gifts. She thought of her own 30th birthday, 7 years ago, celebrated quietly at a family diner, a store-bought cake and a few rushed words. No one had thought to ask what she wanted. At the table now, her parents beamed, champagne glasses raised high, A toast to Olivia, Thomas declared, pride radiating from every wrinkle. Olivia, dressed in designer silk and shining with polished perfection, blushed and batted her lashes. The diamond on her engagement ring caught the candlelight, casting sparkles across the room. Lauren, in a modest beige dress, smiled politely and sipped her champagne. She hadn't been asked what she would wear. She never was. Then came the moment that would shift everything. Catherine, eyes gleaming, pulled a large envelope from her handbag. Now, a gift truly worthy of our Olivia. Inside the envelope was a deed in a small velvet box. Olivia opened it, gasping. "A key?" she whispered. "To what?" Her mother leaned in, voice full of triumph. "It's a new house in Maple Hills. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, all open concept. Nathan's parents provided the land. We paid for the house. Your wedding gift." Olivia's eyes filled with grateful tears as she leapt to embrace them. "I can't believe this. Thank you so much." Thomas grinned. "Only the best for our family jewel." Lauren remained silent, her champagne now flat in her glass. A flash of memory hit her. Her own keys, worn and dented, handed to her when she'd first moved into her cramped basement apartment, paying rent with her own savings while still covering the family's grocery bills. No gifts, no offers, just a quiet, "Take care of yourself, Lauren." Her mother's voice broke through her thoughts. "Lauren, don't you have anything to say?" Lauren blinked, masking the ache behind a familiar smile. "Congratulations, Olivia. That's a wonderful gift. It's going to be a beautiful home." Olivia turned toward her, positively glowing. "I want your advice on the interior. You've always had such good taste." Lauren nodded. "Of course." But something deep inside her shifted. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't even anger. It was clarity. For years, she had been the foundation of this family. Unthanked, unseen. But tonight, beneath the glittering lights of someone else's celebration, Lauren quietly decided something. Her kindness would no longer be their entitlement. They would never see her rise coming, because the strongest revenge is not rage. It's reinvention. A week after Olivia's grand celebration, Lauren's own birthday quietly arrived. The Wilson family chose Oak Hill Diner, modest and crowded, a stark contrast to the elegance of Le Chateau. Still, Lauren smiled genuinely as Ryan, invited especially for the occasion, reached for her hand with his usual quiet warmth. She felt grounded by him, anchored. Her parents were slightly more dressed up than usual, but it was clear this dinner was an obligation, not a celebration. As dessert neared, Catherine leaned forward with a glint in her eye. "Now, Lauren, we've prepared something special for you, too." Her heart flickered with the faintest hope. Maybe, just maybe, this year would be different. She carefully opened the box they handed her. At first, she saw a worn duster and sponge, then more cleaning supplies, an old brush, and at the bottom, a nameplate with the word servant scrawled across it in bold marker. The air around the table froze. Her expression faltered. Then Thomas burst into laughter. "What? Not happy? You're the family servant, aren't you?" Catherine chuckled beside him, brushing it off. "It's a joke, of course, but since you're always doing the chores, we thought you'd appreciate it." Olivia gave an awkward smile, legs crossed and aloof. "Don't take it seriously. That's just Mom and Dad being, well, themselves." Inside, Lauren felt something irrevocable snap. It wasn't just humiliation. It was betrayal wrapped in laughter. The years she had spent hoping her love, her sacrifice, would eventually be noticed. All of it shattered in one cruel joke. But she smiled anyway, the mask automatic. Very practical, she said, her voice hollow. When Catherine finally handed her a second gift, a gift card, its value pitiful compared to Olivia's house, Lauren murmured, "Thank you." Ryan's clenched jaw said everything she couldn't. He wanted to speak, to defend her, but she gently squeezed his arm. Not here, not now. That night, in the solitude of her bedroom, the moonlight casting soft shadows on the wall, Lauren asked herself the question she had avoided her entire adult life. Was it worth it? Living for people who never once lived for you? At dawn, she had her answer. With calm precision, she packed a single suitcase. Just the essentials, just the memories she chose to carry. She left a letter on the kitchen table, written in her steady, graceful hand. "I'm going to find my own life. Goodbye." And she walked out, not once looking back. The apartment she moved into was simple, sunlit, and hers. It sat above a corner store on the other side of town, with a view of a quiet park. Ryan's friend had offered it on short notice, no questions asked. As Ryan carried her suitcase up the stairs, concern etched in every line of his face, he said, "Are you sure this is okay? We can look for something better." Lauren stood by the window, breathing in the unfamiliar freedom. "This is more than enough. For the first time in my life, I'm not apologizing for wanting space, for wanting me." He stepped beside her, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. "Your family. They'll worry." She turned to him, a serene, knowing smile on her lips. "I'm sure they will. But for once, they'll worry about someone who stopped sacrificing everything for them." He pulled her into an embrace, quiet and steady. "Whatever comes next, I'm with you." And in that tiny apartment, with nothing but sunlight, space, and a suitcase of freedom, Lauren smiled. For real this time. Her rise wasn't loud, it wasn't vengeful, it was deliberate, and it was just beginning. That evening, when Lauren's phone lit up with a call from her mother, she didn't hesitate. She let it ring and quietly lifted her teacup instead. This was her first promise to herself in her new life. No more bending. Back at the Wilson house, her absence sent ripples through the carefully balanced routine that had silently relied on her for years. "It's already 8 o'clock. Why isn't breakfast ready?" Catherine muttered, staring blankly into the quiet kitchen. The refrigerator was bare of pre-prepped ingredients, the coffee pot cold and empty. When Thomas came downstairs, newspaper in hand as usual, he paused, sniffing the air. "Where's Lauren?" Catherine shrugged. "She's not in her room, just this." She gestured toward a note on the table. Thomas picked it up, squinting at the short, decisive message. "What is this, a joke?" he snapped. "Did she really leave?" Catherine's confidence faltered. "She'll be back, probably just a phase. Now help me with breakfast." But after burning the toast and cracking 3 eggs onto the floor, they gave up and left for the nearest cafe, hungry and irritable. That afternoon, Olivia dropped by. "Lauren's not answering her phone. What's going on?" she asked. "She left," Thomas grumbled. "Just packed up and walked out. Unbelievable." Olivia blinked in surprise. "Is it because of the birthday gift?" Her voice grew quieter. "That wasn't really funny." "It was a joke," Catherine said defensively, but even she didn't sound convinced. Olivia, unusually firm, shook her head. "No, it wasn't. You've been treating her like a maid for years." Thomas's expression darkened. "She'll come back. She always does. She knows her duty to this family." But this time, Lauren didn't return. Instead, she poured herself into her job at Johnson Accounting, with renewed energy and clarity. She proposed a new customer management system to her boss, Julia, outlining its potential to boost efficiency by 20%. "This is impressive," Julia said, raising her brows. You've become very proactive. I'm just seeing things differently now, Lauren replied with a quiet, knowing smile. That evening, over dinner in a cozy corner booth with Ryan, Lauren spoke freely for the first time in years. It's strange. I've only been gone a week, but I feel lighter. Ryan reached for her hand, his voice soft but certain. You don't have to carry their weight anymore. She nodded slowly. Part of me still worries. Dad can't cook and Mom can't clean, but I had to do this. For me. Back at the Wilson house, cracks deepened into fissures. The laundry piled up. Takeout containers filled the trash. Catherine couldn't keep up, and Thomas's temper frayed. Why is there no toilet paper? He shouted. It was on the list. It was your turn to shop, Catherine replied wearily. When did that become my job? He snapped back. Small arguments bloomed into daily battles. The once tidy home now echoed with tension and neglect. Even Olivia, busy with wedding plans, felt the void. Lauren was supposed to talk to the planner. She complained to Nathan. She's so detail-oriented. She would have had everything scheduled perfectly. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Why were you relying on your sister to plan your wedding? Olivia opened her mouth, but no answer came. Because Lauren always did. Because Lauren always fixed it. Because no one ever thought she'd stop. But she had. And for the first time, they all had to face what life looked like without the woman they'd taken for granted. Lauren paused, startled by the unexpected call flashing across her phone screen. Her father. For a moment she considered ignoring it, but something made her press, answer. Hello? She said, voice steady. Lauren. Thomas's voice cracked with uncharacteristic desperation, stripped of its usual pride. Where are you? Come back. What's wrong, Papa? Lauren asked, her tone calm, grounded, a world away from the daughter who once jumped at his command. But even before this call, the change had already taken root. 2 weeks after walking out of the Wilson house, Lauren had found herself flourishing in ways she'd never imagined. At Johnson Accounting, her ideas were not only heard, but implemented, and her system upgrades were already increasing productivity. After a meeting one afternoon, Julia, her boss, leaned in with a knowing smile. At this rate, Lauren, I see a promotion in your near future. Lauren's eyes shimmered with pride. Thank you. I won't let you down. Her tiny apartment, once a blank slate, now bloomed with personality. Ryan had brought over an old bookshelf, and together they filled it with novels, candles, and tiny potted plants that caught the morning sun just right. Their weekends turned into small, quiet adventures. Trips to nearby lakes, antique shops, diners with strong coffee and no expectations. It was peaceful. It was hers. Then came Olivia's message. Lauren, I need to talk to you. Can we meet? Lauren stared at the screen for a long time, her heart tight with old habits and new strength. She finally replied, I need time. I'll be in touch. Don't worry. She wasn't ready. Not yet. 36 years of silence, sacrifice, and being overlooked couldn't be unpacked in one conversation. She needed space, not to run away, but to breathe. Meanwhile, the Wilson household was unraveling. Olivia's wedding loomed just 2 weeks away, and chaos replaced the order Lauren had once orchestrated so seamlessly. The RSVPs aren't even sorted, Catherine fretted, rifling through piles of mismatched papers. If Lauren were here, don't mention her name, Thomas snapped, his pride still bleeding. She made her choice. But no matter how much they pretended otherwise, Lauren's absence echoed through every forgotten detail, every misstep. The invisible glue that held their lives together was gone, and now they were coming undone. The day before the wedding, Olivia stood in her final fitting, radiant in her gown yet visibly distant. "What's wrong, dear?" Nathan's mother asked. "Tomorrow's your big day. You should be glowing." Olivia forced a smile. "My sister's not coming. I wanted her to be part of this." Nathan's mother pursed her lips. "Your sister abandoned your family. That says everything." Olivia didn't respond, but her silence was not agreement. It was reckoning. Deep down, a painful truth was settling in. Lauren hadn't abandoned anyone. She had simply stopped accepting less. The wedding day arrived at Oak Hill Country Club, dressed in elegance, but behind the beauty was bedlam. Flowers were misarranged, seating charts incorrect, and small errors piled into larger embarrassments. Olivia's mascara smudged as she tried to stay composed. Guests whispered. Nathan's parents frowned. "The Wilson family clearly can't handle details," someone murmured. In another life, Lauren would have caught those mistakes before they even happened. But she wasn't there. Instead, she and Ryan were at a lakeside cottage, sunlight glinting off the water. "Today's the wedding," she said, voice soft as she looked out across the lake. "Do you regret it?" Ryan asked gently. She shook her head. "It's a little sad. But this is my choice. I have the right to be happy too." And that, more than anything, was the quiet triumph she had fought for. 1 month later, Lauren was back at her office, finalizing quarterly reports. She had become a cornerstone of the firm, her name spoken with respect. The phone vibrated. She glanced at the screen. Her father. Again. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." "Lauren?" Thomas said, breathless and shaken, his authority hollowed out. "Where are you? Come back." Her spine straightened, heart steady. "What's wrong, Papa?" Her voice, gentle but firm, held years of silence behind it. And for once, it was he who had no answer. Lauren had never heard her father sound so shaken. His voice, once filled with pride and command, now trembled with panic. "Something terrible has happened. Olivia and Nathan had a big fight. It's gotten out of control. Even Mr. and Mrs. Carter are involved." He paused, struggling. "It's about the house. Olivia, she doesn't know how to cook or clean. Nathan's mother visited and saw the mess. Now they're saying she's not fit to be a wife." Lauren sat still, her hand tightening around her teacup. "And what exactly do you want from me?" she asked. There was a long silence before Thomas answered, voice low with reluctant humility. "We need help. Teach Olivia how to manage things. And, truth is, your mother and I are struggling too. Without you, the house is falling apart." For a moment, Lauren didn't speak. Then, with measured calm, she said, "I understand. Let's meet and talk." 2 days later, Lauren walked into Blue Garden Cafe, a quiet table already waiting by the window. She had arrived early, prepared and composed. Ryan had offered to come along, but she declined. This was a storm she needed to face on her own. Her parents and Olivia arrived 10 minutes late, looking markedly different from their usual polished selves. Catherine's once elegant appearance had dulled, her makeup uneven. Thomas seemed weighed down. Olivia's eyes rimmed red. "Lauren," Catherine said, attempting a smile, "I'm glad you came." Lauren nodded and gestured for them to sit. After the coffee arrived, silence settled, thick and awkward. "Well," Lauren began, her voice even, "tell me everything." Olivia, eyes brimming, spoke first. Nathan's mom dropped by unannounced. The house was a disaster. Dinner wasn't made. She snapped. Said I wasn't fit to be his wife. Then Nathan turned on me too. He said, "Why can't you be more like your sister, Lauren?" Her voice cracked. Lauren exhaled quietly. So now I'm the solution? Thomas leaned forward. We're family. We help each other. But his tone lacked the command it once carried. It was closer to pleading now. Lauren repeated the word slowly. Family. She let it hang in the air, then looked at each of them. I've been thinking a lot about that word since I left. What it means. What it doesn't. Catherine tried to interrupt. You're our daughter, our precious daughter. Come back home. But Lauren shook her head. Number. I'm not your servant. Her voice was quiet, but unshakably firm. For 36 years, I gave up my own life for this family. That ends now. Thomas shifted, uncomfortable. If it's about that birthday gift, it was just a joke. Lauren's voice sharpened. A joke? That gift was the final blow, not the first. Do you know how long it's been since I graduated college? 16 years. In that time, I didn't rent my own place, didn't grow in my career, didn't even allow myself to dream about a future with Ryan, because I was too busy holding this family together. Thomas said nothing. Catherine looked away. Lauren continued, her voice softening but never losing strength. Since leaving, I've finally felt freedom. I can make choices. I can breathe. She turned to Olivia. You always got the praise, the attention, the best of everything. I wanted love, too. I wanted to matter. Tears slipped down Olivia's cheeks. I didn't know. I didn't see it. All these years, I took your help like it was owed. I'm so sorry, Lauren. Catherine's face was pale, her eyes filled with regret. We didn't know how to value you. We took and never thanked you. Lauren took a slow sip of coffee, allowing their words to settle. The hurt still lingered, but for the first time, it was being acknowledged. She wasn't sure yet what forgiveness would look like, or if she was ready for it. But one thing was certain. She was no longer the woman they could take for granted. She had found her voice, and she wasn't going back. A heavy silence hung over the table until Thomas, long, rigid in pride, lifted his gaze from his coffee cup, his eyes glistening with emotion. Lauren, my daughter, I'm sorry, he said, voice thick with remorse. I was a terrible father. That joke, it wasn't a joke. I treated you like a servant. Lauren nodded gently, completing the sentence he couldn't bear to finish. The weight of years of unspoken hurt and resentment pressed on her chest, but underneath it was a steady determination to move forward. I can forgive you, she said slowly, but I won't return to the life I had. I have my own now, and if you want to be a family again, it has to be one where I'm valued, not used. Olivia, sitting beside her, reached across the table and clasped her hand. Lauren, I want that too. I want to change. I need your help, but not at your expense. I want us to support each other like real sisters. For the first time in her life, Lauren felt truly seen by the people who had always looked past her. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they carried hope. Let's start over, she said, as equals, as a family who respects each other. A year passed, and the seasons carried with them quiet transformation. On a crisp spring afternoon, Lauren stood on her apartment balcony, the sunlight catching the gold ring on her hand. Ryan stepped out behind her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. Are you ready? He asked with a smile. 3 months earlier, he had proposed, and Lauren had said yes without hesitation. Yes, she replied, her smile soft but steady, and they stepped inside. Lauren's life had blossomed. She was now a manager at Johnson Accounting, leading a major new project. On the coffee table sat the latest company newsletter featuring her photo and a write-up on her leadership. What time are your mom and dad coming? Ryan asked, pouring wine in the kitchen. 6 o'clock. Olivia and Nathan will be a bit later, she said. The rift with her family had slowly healed. It hadn't been easy, but with time, effort, and honest conversation, they had built something real. Thomas and Catherine had changed in ways Lauren once thought impossible. Her father now took cooking classes and proudly prepared basic meals, while her mother had joined a reading club and discovered joy in her own pursuits. They had learned to share responsibilities and support each other. When the doorbell rang, Lauren opened it to find her parents standing on the doorstep. Thomas holding a homemade apple pie. "I baked it myself," he said with a sheepish grin. "Extra cinnamon, the way you like it." Lauren's heart swelled as she hugged him. Gone was the cold, commanding man of her childhood. In his place stood a gentler, humbler father. Catherine handed her a small package. "For your new home," she said. Inside was a picture book Lauren had cherished as a child. "I want your children to love it too," her mother added softly. Soon after, Olivia and Nathan arrived, Olivia looking more relaxed than Lauren had seen her in years. She proudly held up a salad bowl. "Made it myself. Thank my cooking class," she beamed. Their rocky start to married life had evolved into a true partnership. Olivia had learned to balance her career with home life, and Nathan had stepped up as an equal. Respect now flowed between them where tension had once lived. That evening, the entire family gathered around the table, the room filled with the warmth of renewed bonds. Ryan raised his glass. "To new beginnings," he toasted. "To new beginnings," they echoed, their voices overlapping like harmony rediscovered. The laughter was easy, the conversation bright, and for the first time, no one sat at that table feeling invisible, overlooked, or unworthy. No one was giving more than they could afford, and that was the quiet, triumphant revenge Lauren had long deserved, not in bitterness or rage, but in choosing herself, demanding respect, and finally being loved on equal terms. Each family member had finally found the space to cherish their own life while learning to support one another, not out of obligation, but out of choice. As the evening drew to a peaceful close and her parents prepared to leave, Thomas turned to Lauren, his voice low and steady with emotion. "The day you left us was the day we woke up. It hurt, but it was the wake-up call we needed." Lauren met his eyes and nodded, her voice firm yet gentle. "A family built on someone's silent sacrifice isn't a family. It's a structure waiting to crumble." Thomas reached out, taking her hand in his. "It's different now," he said, the weight of truth behind his words. "Now, we're a real family." As the door closed behind her parents, Ryan slipped his arm around Lauren's shoulders, and together they stood at the window, looking out at the night sky. A new moon hung there, quiet and silver, a symbol of fresh starts and quiet strength. Once dismissed as nothing more than the dutiful daughter, the invisible helper, the family's silent backbone, Lauren was now the woman who had reclaimed her life. No longer the servant. She was loved, respected, and truly seen. Not because she gave everything, but because she had dared to take her life back. And in doing so, she had rewritten the meaning of family.